In this video, I'll be tying a X Attractor Dry Fly size 8. Before I get started, let me make a few comments regarding this fly. This is a pattern that is a solid performer on the water. It sits low on the water surface and can be tied in various sizes and color variations to match whatever hoppers or stoneflies that are on the water. In this video, I'll be tying my favorite go-to color and size pattern, which is a great fly for golden stones and early season hoppers. This attractor pattern is also effective searching fly for the action when the action's slow on the water. So let's get started. Start with putting a Firehole hook number 718 in the vise. We're going to have bobbin and some Griffith shear 14/0 tan thread, and we'll be running a bead of that thread down the shank of the hook using a jam knot to secure the thread onto the hook. I'm going to follow this with putting on a deer hair tail. We're using all-purpose Nature's Spirit deer hair. We're going to cut a pinch, just a pinch, excuse me, of this deer hair off the skin, and I'm going to drop it into a stacker once we comb out some of the underfur. We're going to lay this deer hair along the top of the shank of the hook, and I like to run the deer hair all the way up to about the thorax, which is about 2/3 the length of the shank, and we're going to just trim that down like so. And first thing I'm going to do is spin the bobbin counterclockwise. This will allow the thread to jump to the left. We'll go ahead and tie this deer hair right along the shank. Do a couple of wraps underneath the tail, back second time. Trim off a couple of errant fibers. Now we're ready to put on the ribbing material. The first will be a Ultrawire small gold. Secure that on with a few wraps down to the beginning of the tail. Next, we'll be putting on a Whiting size 18 brown hackle. Also be used as a rib along the abdomen. Peel back a couple of fibers on the stem of this feather. Key that in, a couple of wraps. And finally, we'll put the body material for the abdomen on, which is a 1/2 millimeter razor foam cut to about 2 to 3 millimeters in width. Again, we're going to lay that up around 2/3 the length, up by the thorax, tie it in down to the beginning of the deer hair tail, and do a wrap and pinch, overlapping wraps of the razor foam up to the thorax. Careful not to pull it too tight. It being a 1/2 millimeter in thickness, it will rip pretty easily. Okay, we're going to tie that off. A few secure wraps, remove the tag, and the first ribbon material will be the hackle feather. We're going to rib the abdomen with 2 millimeter spacing for the hackle, like so, and tie that off when we get up to the thorax. Few securing wraps, at the tag end of the feather, and then proceed with the gold wire. You're going to run that in between the hackle wraps, and it'll secure the hackle feather onto the abdomen of the fly as well. I think it gives it an additional good look to the abdomen. Secure that off the wire, wrap it forward, a couple of helicopter wraps to break it off. Now we're ready for the wing, and we're going to grab another little pinch of the all-purpose Nature Spirits deer hair. Cut that off the skin. Comb out the underfur. Drop it in the stacker. And we're going to lay that right along the top of the fly to measure. And I like it to be the end of the wing to be at measuring up with the end of the tail fibers. A little trimming. On this wing, less is better. We just don't want it to overload or make the fly top heavy with too much of a wing material. There we go. Now if we rotate the bobbin counterclockwise, the thread will jump to the left and allow an easy wrap around the deer hair before starting the wraps around the deer hair in the shank of the hook. This will get the deer hair to stand right up on top. Like so. Like a couple of wraps behind. Pull the deer hair back. A few more wraps. There we go. Now we're going to put on a Coeur de Lion hackle feather. We're going to use it for a hackle. And I like to wrap it with the shiny side facing the eye. There we go. And then I put a few wraps. A little bit longer than the wing, but when we push it back, it gives a good look for this fly with this additional Coeur de Lion fibers. Cut it off, fold it back, and go up to where the beginning of the wing. There we go, perfect. Next, we want to put on the bullet head. So we're going to grab another pinch of, a little bit more than a pinch of deer hair again. We want to comb out the underfur. Drop it in the stacker. Just a little bit of trimming. Rid of a few errant fibers. We're going to place this on it's behind the eye and gently spin. Deer hair. Like so. And we'll cut off some of the back end fibers here. Make it a neater bullet head. Almost done. Now we're going to take a little fine dubbing. Doesn't can be any color. I got some tan dubbing here, and basically it's just going to be an underbidding, I call, for the bullet head. So when we pull the fibers, the deer hair fibers over it, it'll make it nice and round, oval. Just cutting the more errant fibers. So now we're ready to fold the deer hair back over the dubbing, back to where the wing is starting. Here we go. Whip finish that and cut off the tan thread. We'll switch to the orange. And we're ready for the yellow and black legs. Ready to whip finish. And also we're going to just put a couple of wraps of orange thread. Awful looks right behind the eye. And we can just whip finish this off. Just the legs. We're going to trim them just so they're just to the ends of the tail, and the front just a little bit shorter. Got a couple of fibers here we want to cut off. And now we're going to cut the bullet hair material, deer hair, and the cordillon fibers underneath, so that this fly will lay flat on the water. Put a little bit of head cement. And there we have it, the X Attractor Dry Fly. Thank you for watching.